Welcome, everyone. Let's talk about the most important area of all in the occult sciences and everything connected to it. That includes the common psychic, which includes remote viewing, the use of technology, radionics, etc. Well, what is the problem here? Well, it's been established for long periods of time that these are real powers, real abilities that people have, and that these are very natural in our environment. You're just been told differently to keep you an ignorant stooge. It's just as simple as that. But let's open the door to what is really happening. Yeah, come into my secret lab where we're going to discuss what is really going on in these areas and what is hidden from you. And that's what really makes these things empowered for the average individual. And it's all about amplification. The plain and simple facts is because you have been blocked from, and the portions of your consciousness and physical brain have atrophied that these abilities come from. It's very difficult to stimulate these areas to produce high level results. Now, we are always pushing and finding new ways to stimulate these brain centers, which activate these what are considered supernormal abilities. There are people, of course, and everybody looks at these, who have these great abilities and are jealous of that, and of course think that, well, why can't I have the same thing? Well, we're not entirely sure, but apparently, to fully understand this, the reason why some people have these extreme abilities, as we like to call them, is because of the fact that these areas that are atrophied in most people are not in them. So, for one reason or another, people have gone through different traumas, near-death experiences, numerous seizures, which actually physically affect the brain, and these have produced some pretty startling effects in some cases. There are just part of it. We also believe that this is like everything else in your human reality. There are certain things that are passed down to you. It's generic. If it's in your family, you will have it in you, and it can be awakened. But a lot of it has to do with social situations. If you're open to these things and you're given support for these kinds of feelings and understandings, you will grow in power quickly. Well, few people have that. You have an entire society, a brainwashed sheeple society, that follows bozos, stooges, and oppressors, and they're more than happy to jump on the wagon against you. Plain and simple. So it's if you go against the system, you're a social deviant, and you are pegged to be destroyed. Well, that's not an oversimplification. It's a fact. So people will follow the most scummiest people that are skeptics, and they are true scum, uneducated scum. So it just amazes me that people give these people credit while there are scientific discoveries in these areas with massive amounts of testing. So we need more testing. This is the kind of nonsense that you get from parapsychologists who play both sides of the fence because they're too cowardice to stand out to the 150 years of proven research already out there. But what is it now to bring people up to the next level? Well, first of all, you do need to activate those atrophied energy areas of your mind. First and simple, you do have to take control of your own mind. Now, if you don't do these two things, your empowerments will be minor. But there is a certain shortcut which you can use as well, and this is called amplification. The key to everything is amplification. There are methods to stimulate and then amplify thought form energies and spiritual, quote, magical energies of all types. You just have to understand the technology behind it. This has been one of the secrets that has been kept and held away from the public. And I'm amazed how ignorant some people are and how they believe the story of particularly the Soviets, who claim they never have anything, never works, they don't have any machines. Because we know that the Soviets are so forthcoming with information. And bozos out there keep repeating this, particularly parapsychologists, and state that they have met them and they talked with their counterparts. The remote viewers are famous for this. And of course, this is, like 30, 40 years ago on top of it. And they all discussed what they were doing freely. All this is just amazing. And what they did is exchange military secrets with the enemy. Is that right? Is that how the military works? Is that how secrets are kept? You go over there for a social call to pat each other on the head, and then you exchange techniques with each other, with your enemy. Isn't that interesting? Of course they didn't, and of course the Soviets gave the stupid Americans, which should be prefaced by anything American, stupid should come first, that they believed in all this. And Lloyd Arbacher, who was the bozo who's done so many things in the 70s, the little fat bald guy who ran around in sightings in the 80s, hunting ghosts with electromagnetic meters. Well, this guy's come back again and seems to be in bed with all the military frauds and liars in the remote viewing program that have skewed the entire program, just pouring information out there to find suckers that think they're helping their country, where they can enslave them and use their abilities for government terror projects. So it's just a joke. So they don't seem to even get this either. They don't seem to understand who the enemy is in this world, and certainly to understand how the military works. And the fact is, if you got, and of course McGonagall was very famous talking to this and saying what he did. You ask McGonagall about any of his secret programs and he'll shut up in a minute. I met him at a conference and started to get into all sorts of things, and he refused to talk about it. Did you talk to the Russians, McGonagall? Did you tell them every little thing you did? Yeah, I'm sure you did, you traitor. So the point is that all those things that go with that is nonsense. Nobody in the military will tell you anything of value whatsoever. They'll give you the company line. Anyone who's listened carefully to Andrei Pusharik and his many, many years working with the government, even in the 1940s, will give you a better insight of what exactly is going on and what the military says. I mean, he's really the only truthful person I've had, but you get a lot of people who are in the fringes of things and working particularly with these manipulative government contractors who all are handcuffed, leg cuffed, and rope tied to the U.S. military with monies and problems. They all owe their soul to the government, and if they step out of line, they will be stomped on one way or another. But they, of course, proved nothing, have achieved nothing, and brought nothing. Now, the point is that all of this comes down to the people that in this day and age, and have been using for years, are amplifications. Now, amplifying consciousness energies is the key to everything. It's very difficult to bring your own. And to think that the human species, and that we can only use a few talented people, if you can even call them that, and that this has absolutely no way, there's no way of amplifying anything, it all has to come from human consciousness, is complete nonsense. There's nothing we do today that we don't use some sort of machine assistance with. So you need that machine assistance in all phases of your life. Who adds columns of numbers up again? We use calculators. I mean, who walks? We use cars. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that something like this, which is very part of the normal consciousness functioning, couldn't be amplified by specially designed equipment. Now, this has been stated by several people in literature that people overlook. But both sides of the government remote viewing program were using machine amplification, what they continue to do. Now, if you think that there's something different, you think they're going to come out and tell you this, and then you get these people like Albacher who comes out and says none of this stuff worked. After all, the Russians told us so. It's all there in their documents. I mean, the gullibility of these morons is just, it's insulting to everybody. But it just shows you the kind of low mentality these people are, how they really don't have an intellectual capacity to understand what's going on in the world in general, what life is about in general. It must come from a very shallow, protected, or paid off reality. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense at all to think that there's no way to amplify these energies out there because he doesn't understand them. Well, I would suggest that he cut down on his endless amounts of food he takes in and do a little more exercise and try and figure out what the world is all about. So, as we get involved with all these things, we need to fully understand this kind of nonsense that is perpetrated from these people. And what happens is people get caught up in, and why people listen to certain people is just mind-boggling to me. I mean, who are they? And who cares if they are credentialed or scientists or call themselves parapsychologists? They don't seem to even have basic information. And then people just listen to big mouths. They call themselves skeptics and they have no background to do anything. They're businessmen. They're clown college graduates. They're promoting their business. They're people who haven't graduated high school. I mean, you know, there's certain things about being educated, and there's certain things about not even graduating high school, which is a serious issue. People who are convicted felons. These are the people that come out, and apparently there's a whole group of parapsychologists that easily fall behind them. But there are technologies of amplifying these types of energies that has been used by the remote viewers since the inception of the program. And there are all sorts of different devices used to detect remote viewing, to detect the presence of these energies going into different places and blocking them. All of this is things that you have never been told about, but are real. This is real technology, people. This is the next level technology that's been in use for many years now. And you've got those stooges out there that are lying to you. You should never believe a single thing told to you by any government official because they're owned by the government, which is kind of being like owned by Satan. Probably worse. They've sold their soul. They're lying to you under false pretenses that somehow they're keeping America safe. From who? We need to be kept safe from them. Until next time.